Alright, so today's video is going to be writing the equations of a line, but from a word problem. So don't freak out when you see a word problem. We're going to give you some basic tips, tricks to locate your slope and y-intercept in order to write your equation. So just like we did with domain and range, anytime you have a word problem, the first thing you want to do is identify your variables. All right, so let's read number 1 here. It says, Mrs. Andrews' dryer broke and she had to call a mechanic to fix it. The total cost to get the dryer fixed is a function of the number of hours it takes the mechanic to work. And I'm going to stop right there because if you remember when we did domain and range, anytime you see this phrase function of, whatever comes before it, that's going to be your range or your y values, right? Because remember, the range is the y values. So this first part of the sentence, the total cost to get the dryer fixed, that's going to be our y values. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight there so I don't forget that. Whatever comes after the words function of, this is like the cost is going to depend on this. So this is going to be your x or your independent or your domain. So after function of is the number of hours. So our x is going to be the number of hours. All right, so look for that phrase function of. Whatever comes before it is your y values or your range. Whatever comes after it is your domain or your x values. So right here, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify my variables. So I've already highlighted. So yellow is my x, and that is the number of hours. And then pink is my y, and that is the total cost. Okay? All right, so now in order to write my equation, I do need to find out what m and b are. So m is my slope, b is my y-intercept. All right, so I'm going to read the rest of the problem. It says the mechanic charges a flat fee of $20 and $5 for each hour it takes to fix the dryer. So when we're identifying the slope and the y-intercept, there are some key words. So if you look at this box over here where we have put a text box, this is just some key phrases. Now, these aren't the only words you could see. It's just some key phrases to locate your slope and y-intercept. So first thing, anytime you have the words per, each, every, and, of, those are things that are happening more than once. So like if you're talking about gallons of gas and you're going to buy some gas and it's $3 for each gallon, that word each means every gallon that you buy, it's going to be $3 for each one, right? So you're going to be multiplying. And so just remember, in our y equals mx plus b, we multiply the slope by x. Okay, so that's going to give us the cost for each x, whatever x is. So in this word problem, we have a flat fee of $20, and we have, so flat fee of $20 is one thing, and then we also have $5 for each hour. So there's that word each. That's going to tell me my slope. And remember, hour is x, so if I'm talking about $5 for each hour, I would write that as 5x. And then the flat fee of $20, that's going to be my y-intercept. Okay, so the slope, $5 for each hour, so our slope is 5, and then our y-intercept is that flat fee. So if you look over here, that's one of the key words to find the y-intercept, because that only happens one time. They only pay $20 at the beginning and then $5 for each hour to fix it. So b is going to be 20. Now that I have m and b, we can write our equation. Y equals 5x plus 20. All right, so what this means is it's $5 for each hour plus the flat fee of 20, and that's going to tell us our total cost. All right, so let's look at the second one here. We've got the total cost C to rent an SUV is a function of. So I'm going to stop right there. There's that key phrase, function of. So whatever comes before it, that's my Y, which is the total cost. So I'm going to label that there, C. And then whatever comes after it, the number of days, that's going to be my X value. Or in this case, it is a D. It tells you right here, D days. All right, so as a function of the number of days, they keep the car in a flat fee of $150. The daily cost of the car is $75. Write an equation to represent the total cost for D days. All right, so identifying my variables. D is the number of days. And C is the total cost. All right, so again, if we're looking, we've got two different things here. Here's that word flat fee again. So that's going to be my y-intercept. And then we have the cost, the daily cost of the car is $75. So we don't know how many days they're going to rent it for, but it's $75 for each day, right? So you could rewrite this as $75 each day, even though it doesn't actually say that. It basically is saying that just in a different form. All right, so now the flat fee is going to be your y-intercept, so that's $150 here. And then 75 is the cost for every day. That's going to be our slope. So now that we have M and B, we can write our equation. Y equals 75. Oh, I don't want to use X this time. We have a D. Same thing. I'll change that Y in a second. Plus 150. So again, I shouldn't be using Y here. The variable for the total cost was C. So there's our equation. All right, number 3. Julia works as a salesperson. She earns a base salary of $300 a week plus 20% commission of her total sales. Write an equation that can be used to find Y. I'm going to start highlighting here, which is the total amount Julia earns based on her total amount of sales, X. All right, so X is her sales, and Y is her total amount earned, money earned. All right, so we have identified our variables. So now I want to be able to locate M and B. So we have two things in this problem that it tells us. She earns a base salary of $300. Now, we don't have the word base anywhere up here, but if you're earning a base salary, think about how many times that happens. The base of something happens one time, so that's going to be your y-intercept. So our y-intercept is 300. Plus she earns 20% commission. Now this right here of her total sales, so there's that keyword of, that tells you you're going to multiply 20% times however many sales she has. So 20% commission. I can't write a percent inside of this equation. I need to first change it to decimal form. So how do you write 20% as a decimal? 0.20. Remember, if you have a percent, wherever your decimal is as a percent, you move it 2 places to the left. So now it reads 0.20. All right, so that means our slope is going to be 0.20. So now we have M and B. So we are going to write our equation. So we have Y equals 0.20x plus 300. So we've got 20% times however many sales she makes plus her base salary of $300. All right, last one here. We've got an organization has a monthly budget of X dollars. So there's my X. So that's a monthly budget of X dollars. And every month, $2,070 is spent. I'm going to underline that word spent. That's going to tell me what operation. If I'm spending money, I'm going to be subtracting on salaries. And then 1/4 of the remaining budget is spent on monthly activities. Write a function that can be used to find the amount in dollars Y spent on monthly activities. So what we want to find is how much are they spending on monthly activities. We're going to solve for Y. All right, so notice we put some little hints here. When you have a story like this and it's telling you the order things happen in, write it down in that order. Okay, so an organization has a monthly budget of X dollars. So when I start writing my equation, I want to start with X dollars. So I'm just going to start with X. And then every month, they're spending $2,070 on salaries. So again, we talked about spending money is subtraction. So I'm going to subtract 2,070. So far, that's what we have. Then it says 1/4 of the remaining budget is spent on monthly activities. So I want to take this, right, all of this, and I want 1/4 of that. So you have two options here. You can multiply all of that by 1/4, or you can divide it all by 4. I'm just going to multiply it by 1/4 here. All right, so then we have, and that's going to equal our total monthly activities. Okay, so now I have parentheses here, so just to identify our slope and y-intercept on this one, I'm going to go ahead and distribute. So 1/4 times x is 1/4 x, and then 1/4 times 2,070 is going to give you a decimal, but go ahead and type that in your calculator. It's going to be 517.5. That's actually going to be a negative 517.5. All right. So here we go. We didn't label X is the monthly budget of X dollars. And then Y is monthly activities. Okay, so in this problem, our slope, our m value is 1/4, and the y-intercept is negative 517.5. All right, so our equation, y equals 1/4 x minus 517.5. And there you have it.